people.
Seems exciting.
Okay, and there goes the countdown. So I'm going to assume we're live now. So hey, everybody, welcome. It is Wednesday night here on Live Long and Podcast, and that means that my dad, Ted Mater, has rewatched another episode of Star Trek: The Original Series, and we're here to talk about it. This week's episode is called "Devil in the Dark" from the first season. We're joined by with my dad, Ted. Dad, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
And we got esteemed panelist Jody Simpson. Jody, how are you tonight?
Not too bad in yourself.
I'm doing well. So, yeah, and as mentioned, we're here to talk about The Devil in the Dark from the original series. So, if you're not too familiar with this episode just by the name, this is the one with the I guess it's a lava creature that's killing these miners on this particular planet that the Enterprise is brought in to talk about. It was, I think, Dad, you were inspired to pick this episode because of last week's episode with the lava monster that made Abraham Lincoln fight against Genghis Khan, right? Oh, you're
Nope.
muted.
Now I can't hear him.
Oh, no, he's oh, there he goes. Wait, yeah, unmute yourself. Okay, try now.
Oh, there we go.
It was a similar type of creature. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, and so I kind of put it. I thought it would be a good segue from last week's one into this week. It was apparently the same guy who was inside the Horta was also inside the creature last week.
Right, same performer. So he's a full body puppeteer.
I guess so.
Well, to his credit, this one was like just a guy walking around with a blanket. Like that's really what it looked like.
It looked like he was like crawling around with this rubber thing on it. Oh, Jeff got a haircut. Look at that. Bringing in Jeff Mater. As we're here talking about The Devil in the Dark on the original series of Star Trek. Now, I have a whole bunch of notes, but about this episode. First thing that really stood out to me in this episode was, why was the 60s obsessed with big jumpsuits, in particular orange jumpsuits? All the human characters always wear jumpsuits. Jody, do you care to speculate?
Not really.
Well, they had different colors, Dave.
I don't have an answer. I didn't care that much.
They had different colors. Come on,
different colors.
The head guy had a different color.
Why was fashion in the 60s and 70s, Dad, obsessed with these one-piece outfits?
Onesies, yeah. I guess they're kind of cool back then.
It was a cool thing.
They're also minors.
Like anything, we grew out of it.
They're minors. I guess makes sense to wear.
But your mechanics, mechanics still wear onesies like that. Like when you go to work every day and work on your car, you have onesies on.
I just know that these jumpsuits get reused by a number of alien characters over the different seasons, and I don't know if this is
those guys aren't aliens though.
No, they're just humans on the name of this planet they're on. I didn't catch it, but
Janus 6.
Janus 6. Okay, and so on Janus 6, which is a mining planet, not to be confused with the Rigel mining planet that Mudd's women were sold on or were to be sold to. But we start with this guy named Schmitter. Now, Schmitter is one of the victims of this Horta monster. He's burnt to a crisp. But what was this guy had a distinct Boston accent. Did anyone else pick up on this?
I did notice it, yes.
His
a little bit, not a lot.
And they all work for this guy named Vanderberg. Vanderberg's the head of the miners, right? And
he's the guy in the slightly different colored jumpsuit.
Yeah, he's in the yellow jumpsuit.
Yes.
To indicate he's the higher of the jumpsuit wearing guys.
Well, the same thing happens on construction sites. There's a guy with a different color hat.
There you go.
So it was the wrong episode.
You watched the wrong episode?
Yeah, I watched Errand of Mercy.
Oh, well, we did that one weeks ago.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Oh, that's why, because I looked it up on I hadn't seen it. Oh, I can give you my take on that episode.
That's a podcast weeks ago. But you can we can pick up your rating at the end.
Yeah, how's that?
All right.
Yeah, this whole okay, and so and there's a couple things that got mentioned through the dialogue, but I just these miners, they were, I don't know, they were mad about all their guys. Like, okay, what about Schmitter? Should Vandenberg have ordered Schmitter to guard that thing? He said, "How long till the Enterprise gets here?" And he's like, 4 hours. Like, oh.
He didn't make it.
He didn't make it, and so
Nope.
the guilt that Vandenberg feels is intense. He can't get over it. He feels it throughout the episode. They want vengeance. They like, and Schmitter is not even the first guy to die. He's like the 10th guy.
No,
to
he's
die.
like the 50th guy to die.
Yeah, they've lost a lot of miners to this monster or this creature, the Horta.
So why did it take this long for the Enterprise to show up, or anybody else that can help them with this particular issue? Like, if they've gone through 50 men, that couldn't have been in like the course of 2 days or anything. Like they had to have known.
Right. And what purpose does the Enterprise serve coming here, other than I guess they have science officers and whatnot?
Star Trek convenience.
But they wrote into the story that they have that Starfleet, the starship has the Type 2 phasers, which might be more effective against this Horta than against the Type 1s.
Yes.
So the Type 2 being the more the handheld, like the one that looks more like a gun, and the Type 1 being the smaller one that we saw in a couple of the last few episodes actually that we saw. That's looks like more like like it's a heater, like in a piece of the action. Give me one of those heaters. So it's just a little.
I haven't heard the mining Pergium before.
Bring in the Pergium.
Yeah, I haven't heard that term ever be used before in Star Trek.
Because it's a fictional substance that's mined on that planet, I believe. Pergium was an element, so it's just science fiction talk, really, is what it is.
Yeah. But they also mentioned that they mined other things there, like platinum, gold, other stuff.
For 1,000
They said at one point, they had enough resources for 1,000 planets or something like that.
Yeah.
Or 1,000, not 1,000 planets, 1,000 settlements or civilizations or something. But anyway, yeah, the thing that caught me off guard was obviously the alien. It reminded me of Pizza the Hut from Spaceballs. And I don't know why.
Okay, yeah. And so we don't get to see the alien until like, I don't know, maybe
at least halfway through,
halfway through. But they show up, and then the one clue they have are these like little beach balls that they keep finding around the
silicone eggs.
You didn't know they're eggs at that point.
No, silicone.
There's all these balls around here. It's like you would think that somebody would have clued in, but I guess
I was like, "Are these eggs?" And then they found them hatched, and you go, "Oh, they're not just beach balls."
I remember ages ago seeing this episode, but I didn't really remember it, so it was almost like watching it new again. And I remember the minute I saw the balls, I'm like, "Well, like they're obviously some sort of importance. There's billions of them. Like there's got to be a reason for them." Yeah,
right. But they're not putting it together.
It was interesting, though. This Star Trek episode kind of started differently than any other in that it started with all the miners talking on this planet with no Star Trek involvement whatsoever at the beginning.
Yeah, it takes almost like 5 to 10 minutes before we even see a cast member from the actual series.
That's right. Yeah. Which is a little different from a typical
women
Star
in this
Trek.
episode.
What's that?
There's a woman. There's no women speaking in this episode.
No.
There was one in the background, but that was it.
Is that it was very male centric. And then so when they go on the hunt for the Horta or for the creature, they take this lineup of red shirts with them down there, right?
Yeah.
I think they only lose one of them in the process of this mission. But so and that's a pretty famous meme that you see in Star Trek with all the red shirts kind of lined up, and it's Kirk kind of ordering them to their death. But I think that's
like, you go there and die. You go there and die.
Yeah. Right. And we meet Commander Jojo, or is it Giotto or something like that? He's like the leader of the red shirts. Yeah. So he's like a rare commander, like a non-bridge officer commander who's with there. And then when this monster finally, like, they kill the one security guard. He gets
Giotto.
killed. No, yeah, Giotto's the head guy.
Yeah.
He's like, when the miners getting all rowdy, and he's like, "Hey, you listen! The captain said you can't go through here." That's
And
Commander.
then they hit him on the head.
And they hit him on the head. Yeah, he wasn't a very good security guard. And so, okay, then it comes to this whole thing where Spock's like, well, maybe we need to learn more about this creature and find out what's going on. It's silicone-based life. That's not even supposed to be possible. And Kirk's like, no, we're shooting to kill. We're shooting on sight. And
well, and this is where we get into the interesting part of the episode, because before all the way up to this, I'm like, this is boring. But when you start seeing the conflict between the two of them, Spock and Kirk, that's when I think you kind of see what really the whole point of this episode really is. It's the conflict, right? And we also have to not judge a book by its cover, kind of thing. You know, they just assume that this thing, because it's killing miners, is, you know, some nasty ass thing that's just out to kill everybody, and it turns out that that's not the case, right? But you know,
right. Well, it's also native to this planet, whereas they are definitely not native to this planet. So
especially their accents.
Especially with their accents, Schmitter.
But it's funny that at the beginning, Kirk was demanding shoot to kill, and then when they found it, Spock said, "You got to shoot to kill. You got to shoot to kill." He was the one who wanted to save it.
Yeah,
so
they
he completely changed.
Back ways. Yeah, goes back and forth. Yeah.
Right. One thing that did bother me was when Spock was explaining the tunnels, and he's like, "They literally go on for whatever," and I'm like, "But they don't literally go on, Spock. If it was literal, it'd be written down." But it's okay. It was just
that's that Roddenberry bright light writing right there.
Right. But Kirk's not having it when Spock's like being kind of flip-flopping, saying, you know, maybe we shouldn't kill it, or maybe we should try to capture it. And he even he contradicts him at the meeting with the red shirts, and Kirk doesn't like it too much, and he's gonna send Scotty to go fix the reactor or whatever, and he's like, "Don't send me to go fix the reactor with Scotty. This is a great science mission. I want to stay." And he convinces Kirk by saying that, you know, because Kirk's like, "Well, what if we both die? That'd be no good." And he says, "Well, the odds are 2,000.
Scotty would be in charge.
28.7 to 1," and that wins Kirk over somehow.
Yeah. I was always hoping for him to say, like, "Don't tell me the odds, Spock," you know, something like that. You know, some corny line. But the one thing I will point out, though, is that the acting for both Nimoy as well as Shatner, in my opinion, are great in this episode. Like, Shatner's not chewing the scene the entire time, which is normal for him. And Nimoy, I think, does a fantastic job, especially during the sequence where he's doing the mind meld, right? Yeah. I just think the emotion that he's portraying is quite nice. I think it's and the other shout out here is the set design. The set design actually I thought was pretty good for, you know, a 60s show with a very limited budget. It looked pretty damn good. You know, so you got to give him props for all that stuff.
Not the monster.
The monster just looks like somebody's got grandma's quilt and just put a whole bunch of shit all over it and then crawled around.
It's supposed to be made of rock, right? It's supposed to be able to like disintegrate.
It's supposed to be like a molten lava kind of thing, yeah.
Right.
Like
what was the best line of Dr. McCoy? He says, "I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer."
Yes, right. Which is actually, I think, the first time that he actually uses that type of sequence, which ends up being a meme later on, right? Yeah, I think this is the first episode. If we had Jeff, we would know.
Where'd he go?
Well, he didn't.
Well, he didn't see the episode,
so he
kind of hard to get him to talk about it. So
maybe he's watching it right now.
Maybe he's doing a quick recap.
Yeah, but it's clearly foam rubber skin. They knocked a chunk off of it earlier with their phasers, and it's clearly just a piece of foam rubber. But it's fine.
It's a 60s sci-fi show with barely any budget. Like,
hey,
I think they did pretty good.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
But I think for a first season episode, when the Horda attacked guys, he wasn't in a pile on the ground like he showed. He was like almost like jumping on top of people and smothering them and burning them up.
Yeah.
Right. So it was kind of like
showed quite how it worked, right? How he killed somebody.
Yeah, they never.
I guess that with the phase two phaser gun, they
Good too.
managed to keep the Horta at bay.
Yeah. I think overall, though, like the episode itself, in my opinion, isn't bad. I could have went without a lot of the miners. I think they were just a distraction more than anything. But the overall, like when you start getting to the Shatner and Nimoy scenes, I think that's when this episode strides really well.
Jody, did you get a vibe? When Kirk and Spock have to split up, right? And they go one way and they go the other. And then they have to have this call later on when Kirk finds the Horta first, right? And he's talking to Spock on the communicator. And I got real vibes of Ghostbusters, of like Ray talking to Venkman about I'm looking right at it, Ray.
Yeah, I'm looking right at it, Ray. Yeah.
Like, great, get a sample or whatever. And then it goes, ah.
Yeah. And you know what? It wouldn't shock me because Star Trek was a big influence on Ramis and all them. So it wouldn't shock me that might be something that they kind of worked in for the Slimer scene in Ghostbusters.
Yeah, it felt a lot like that. Like just like one guy.
I agree. And honestly, when I first watched it, I didn't really clue into that. But now that you've mentioned that, I'm like, yeah, that makes perfect sense because that's kind of the feeling I had. I'm like, I've seen this before. I just don't remember what it was. But yeah, no. Now that you mentioned that, for sure.
Dad, you've seen Ghostbusters too, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Do you know what we're talking about?
Maybe. Can't remember it.
So when they first start ghostbusting, they go to a hotel, and then is it Ray? No, it's
Venkman.
Bill Murray's character.
Bill Murray's character.
Bill Murray. Yeah. So he sees Slimer eating off the like cart and stuff like that, and he sees Slimer, and they're having this conversation. He's like, "You see it?" And he's like, "Yeah, I see it. It's not nearly as fun as you think it is."
And then it starts to stare right at him.
Yeah,
right?
it's staring right at him. He's like, "It's oh." He starts getting uneasy about it. So yeah, no, I definitely can appreciate that comment, Dave. I think you're pretty spot on there.
I just came back to this mind meld that is sort of the big point of this episode. I think because I think
that's when you learn the motives, right? Yeah,
this has to be the first mind meld, right?
Well, we're what 25 episodes in. I don't know. I don't think it is.
Yeah, because he's like, Captain, you know about the Vulcan joining of minds, right? And he's like, yeah, like go ahead.
Yeah, that's true. That dialogue was in there. I don't know.
Yeah, so it seems like, and McCoy doesn't seem to not quite know what's going on either, and so it felt like it was the first one. If not, maybe it's like an early iteration of it. It is, but that after they break the first, it's not the physical touch mind meld. It's just sort of a telepathic thing. That Horta learns enough to write "no kill I" onto the rock. He learns enough about their language to write it into stone.
Now, I think the first thing that we should have been impressed is the fact that we now know it's male, because only men can piss like that. So we already know that he can piss acid and spell out letters. He clearly is male. How
do those eggs get there?
But what I was most impressed with was the fact that when he did piss out his message, the message number one was in English, which is pretty impressive to begin with. And number two, the font that was used was consistent over all three words. So, that's you got to give props to this little Horta Pizza the Hut guy, because he clearly knows how to piss his acid nicely.
Yeah.
Well, this is James T. Kirk's favorite episode of Star Trek. Did you know that?
Or is it you mean?
Yeah, this is his most favorite episode of all the episodes.
You mean William Shatner?
Shatner, I'm guessing, yeah.
Shatner, I mean, yeah.
Why this one?
I don't know. He just thought it was. I think maybe because his father passed away during this episode.
Yeah, he wasn't actually in most of the scenes that. Yeah, I did actually see this part in a little review thing that I read, because I always like to see what other people say too.
Yeah.
His father died, and he was in Florida at the time when they were shooting all the mind meld scenes. So all the mind meld scenes in this episode is not Shatner; it's a stand-in. So, and then they recorded him doing reactions after. So there is a little mini fun fact for everybody.
Why
a lot of
Florida?
people say this is between as good as one of the top episodes ever in Star Trek, and one of the top 4 for sure.
Is it though? Like why? Why is it? Why
just what are the ratings of all the experts, if you will? I mean, we could be the experts too, and we'll rate it later, and we'll find out if we come in that high, but we'll see.
Yeah, like I think if you're an animal lover, it's definitely more appealing to you because it's really about that's really what the story is. It's sort of like and it's also about preserving natural indigenous
Living
creatures,
things.
living things that are from a planet and humanity's
And they're
sort of
silicone based, which is different than us as carbon based, right?
Oh,
Right.
I actually found what Ted's talking about. It's actually Leonard Nimoy. So it says Leonard Nimoy identified this episode's closing banter between Spock and Kirk as one of his favorite scenes ever to perform. He noted, "It was a wonderful moment in which to find a relationship and to find the whole Spock character's existence and his attitudes about himself." So
Yeah.
obviously he feels it's a very
is
very good
was
episode for
that
him.
the thing where he says you're becoming more and more human all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I see
Yeah.
no reason to stand here and be insulted.
Yeah.
And the
Actually-
Horta liked his ears.
I was right. This is the episode, the first time McCoy uses the phrase, "I'm a doctor, not a blank," when Kirk asks him to help the Horta, finishing the line as, "I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer."
Yeah.
I love Kirk's
there you go.
response to that line too. I love "You're a healer. There's a patient. That's an order."
Yeah, that was pretty neat.
And like, isn't it later on where McCoy's calling up to the ship? He's like, I don't know who he's talking to. He's like, "Lieutenant, I don't care what you. Doesn't matter why I need it. I just need it. Beam it down now."
Yeah.
This is great stuff there.
Well, it's like this. It's nice to see some of that though, because like if you think about the earlier episodes in season 1, it was very kind of mainstream by the book, very almost army type mentality that they have on the ship. So it's kind of nice to see that he can cuss out somebody and basically say, "Shut up and just do it." Like stop giving me your lip, So
Right.
and of course, DeForest Kelly, being the man that he was, very close to the role. So.
Mhm. No, he's good. He's really good in this episode.
Yeah.
And
It's
they're
a good
just, like,
episode.
they're just, and it's really just a bunch of guys in a cave. That's what this running around after
It
weird
is. Yeah, if you don't like caves, this isn't your episode. Because literally every set is really just the cave.
Are they not even on the Enterprise in this episode at all? Maybe just when they're about to beam down to like bring the guys in, like the
Yeah, the red shirts, I think, is about it. Yeah.
It's almost entirely on the planet.
Yeah. And I still stand by this. The caves look great. For 60s television, the caves look great.
I'm sure they would look really good. Like you can kind of see it if you're looking like in high def or whatever.
Well, obviously we live in a high def world, so we see all the flaws in it. But if I was watching this for the first time on a color TV set in the 60s, I would have been impressed. I would have been like, "Wow, that's amazing! Look at that world they created." And that's something I don't say very often on this podcast, because normally I'm like, "These things suck."
Right. Yeah. No, I hear you. And so so once they are now making contact with the creature, mind melding with it. We talked about Leonard Nimoy was really strong in sort of because he has to sort of act on behalf of this puppet because
he's essentially representing the alien life at this point. Yeah.
And then this leads Kirk to eventually find because they're trying to find a pump, right? Didn't the Horta stole one of the miners' pumps?
Yes.
Yeah, they pump for the oxygen. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the oxygen pumps. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but that's when they find the eggs. That's where they start to put it together. But just as they're starting to solve this mystery, the miners, they're having none of it, and they revolt on Commander Jojo and his red shirts and overpower them and hit them over the head. So, do you think Kirk maybe had that guy transferred?
I think that would be the least of his problems.
You never heard from those guys after that. I guess they were okay.
He's probably on that snow planet from Star Trek 6.
Yeah. Well, shouldn't the miners be like arrested for what they did?
Yeah, totally. That was treason.
Right.
It's essentially treason. Come on.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think.
What did those red shirts do to them? They were just trying to protect and maintain order.
Yeah. And so I'm just trying to remember, how did they resolve this with the miners? The miners are
well, the Hortas, all the little Hortas that were born were going to take over the drilling for the miners, and miners would mine the rocks, and the little Hortas would be left alone.
Oh, there you go. Then it's a win-win for everybody.
It was a win-win situation. That's how they worked it out at the end with the Horta. Luckily, they had Spock there who could talk to the Horta, because without Spock being there with that ability to talk to the Horta, they would have probably killed the Horta, and or the Horta would have killed them. One or the other would have happened.
Well, there you go. Starfleet needed to be involved.
So that's why you need a Vulcan on every Star Trek ship.
The big huge pearls that were around were actually Horta eggs.
Yes.
And that's pretty much.
But
Now
they're
you're pretty much
clearly
up to
beach
speed.
balls.
Well, we know they're beach balls, Dave, but 60s on low def television, those were Horta eggs.
That was the prettiest thing the Hortas delivered.
Jeff,
Those
are you
little,
still there?
those are little
Than the
butt
actual
pearls.
Horta.
Because I think we're ready to get to fun facts, because I think we've covered the plot and a lot of the.
Okay, you're gonna have to do that this week.
I can do it if Jeff.
Yeah.
Oh, you can do
Jody,
it.
you take over.
All right, I can't do it as well as him. Oh my God, you already have a title ready. How did that happen?
Well,
Ooh.
it's only 3 letters
Fun
difference
fact with
between
Jody.
Jeff and Jody, so I just had to
I
change
see.
3
Okay.
letters.
All right, so let's. Arthur C. Clarke once remarked in 1995 that the original series, the only episode he could recall was this one, stating that, quote, "It impressed me because it presented the idea, unusual to science fiction then and now, that something weird and even dangerous need not be maleficent." I can never say that word.
Malicious.
Essentially, yeah. That is a lesson that many of today's politicians have yet to learn.
Yeah, Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah.
So when William Shatner on the set got a call from his mother informing him about his father's death, the crew was ready to shut down production, but he insisted on continuing. During the rest of the day, Shatner took comfort in Leonard Nimoy and cinematographer Gerald Perry Finnerman, whose father had died on a movie set less than 7 years prior. So obviously they were there to help and confirm his things. There was yes.
Well, just like I thought that. So William Shatner's from Montreal, and so are his parents, but they must have moved to Florida, I guess. Right?
No, they were in Florida, I think, on vacation.
Oh, they were on vacation. Okay.
They're probably snowbirds.
Yeah. I don't have that information in the fun facts, so I can't help you there.
All right.
But now here's another fun fact. There is a Star Trek themed punk rock band named No Kill Eye, which happens to be the quote that the Horta pissed out on the rock. And as I said earlier, this episode is the first time McCoy used the phrase "I'm a doctor, not a blank," which obviously ended up being something that happened quite often later on.
That must have got great reaction from this episode. So everyone's like,
"Do
that, more of that."
This episode includes only one actress who appears for a few seconds and has no lines. This is the only episode with no female speaking parts in the entire original series.
Oh, that was pretty good.
There you go. Here's one for you, Dave. The unbroken Horta eggs were toy bouncing balls painted gold.
Oh, really?
They weren't beach balls, I'm afraid. I'm sorry.
Okay, toy bouncy balls.
Yes. The Star Trek Deep Space Nine novel Devil in the Sky is a sequel of sorts to this episode. So there's I guess it's canon. I don't know. But obviously
not a
book.
novel. Not a novel.
The novels aren't, even if they're using that. I always thought they were canon.
Not even if William Shatner wrote the novel.
Really? Even if Shatner wrote it, eh?
Yeah, because he wrote a novel where he resurrected Kirk after generations. So
okay. This is the only episode in the original series in which the distinction is drawn between Phaser 1 and Phaser 2. So there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, the next gen brought that back.
This is the only from the original series, though. Yeah. Right. So NBC announced that Star Trek would be renewed for the second season next fall during the closing credits of this episode. So this was the episode that announced that there was going to be another season. So that's interesting, I guess. The only interior portion of the Enterprise seen in this episode is the bridge. And that in that it's in only 2 scenes when Scotty speaks to Kirk about replacing the circulating pump, and at the end of the landing, after the landing party has returned to the ship. So there you go, Dave. You're right on that one.
Yeah.
That
Usually
was more
most
than I thought.
episodes start with the bridge. You know.
Yeah, usually we get a bridge shot at the beginning.
Yeah.
Usually starts with the ship and the bridge, and this one, it's very odd. It starts with
It's an odd one, yeah.
Oh, here's one for you, Ted.
Yeah?
This episode marks the first and only time an episode begins without the Enterprise or its crew being involved in a teaser scene before the main credits. So there you go.
This is the only time they did that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So this is a landmark episode, guys. We're learning a lot of stuff here.
Because when it first started, you go, "Is this the episode?" Like I was kind of thought I missed something.
There you go. The clubs used by some of the, I guess it's Janus or Janus, 6 colonists during the hunt for the Horta appear to be of the same design used by Kirk during the fight with Spock in the transporter room in Star Trek, the original series, This Side of Paradise. So there you go. That's a little bit interesting as well. Perigam mining is later referred to in Star Trek Voyager's Fair Trade, as well as Star Trek Deep Space Nine's episodes Prodigal Daughter. So there you go. Do we have time for a couple more here? I guess we'll do a couple more. Okay. Although Giotto is identified as a lieutenant commander, he wears full commander's 2 solid rank stripes. Oh, Dave, I'm a little sad you didn't notice that.
I did notice it.
You did notice it, okay.
I did notice it, and I just thought that Kirk forgot what his rank was.
Fair enough.
Because I don't think Kirk really knows his name. Because I swear that Kirk calls him Commander Jojo, not Giotto. It's like maybe I just heard it, but I was like, "What's this guy's name? Commander Jojo?"
So the we actually talked about this earlier. Janos Prohaska is actually the designer who designed the outfit for the Horta. He also designed an oversized microbe for the Outer Limits: The Probe episode in 1965, which is actually what this was based on. So obviously this came
This
after.
is based on an Outer Limits episode?
It is, yes, the Probe. Just the character, like not the actual storyline.
Okay.
That one's not interesting, so I'm going to skip that one. This takes place in 2267, just in case you didn't know. Sulu and Uhura do not appear in this episode. That's another thing to know about.
Well, of course, no women were in this episode, let alone Uhura.
So here's something that we probably all noticed but didn't really clue into. A portion of the Horta tunnel was seen in Star Trek, the original series, Patterns of Force, as the entrance to the underground cavern. So they reused the sets.
Oh, that was in the Nazis. Remember when they met underground?
Yeah.
These are the Nazi caves. Oh, the Nazi resistance caves.
These were the Nazi resistance caves. The same things. Yeah. All right. I think we might. What else do we got here? No, I think I've covered pretty much everything that's really interesting enough. Let's put it that way.
All right. Well, thank you, Jody. Thanks for.
And again, I don't try to fill in for Jeff because Jeff.
Oh, I think you did
much
better.
at this.
I think he's got to step up his game here.
I hope I did him proud.
All right, let's rate this. All right, bringing this full screen. Okay, so just looking at it here. So whoever Adam's away, and so I guess Jeff is away too because he's.
Well, maybe we'll get his rating next week.
Maybe we can. If you did watch Errand of Mercy, he can update his rating here. So Jeff, if you're listening,
well, he did watch that.
You did watch it, so you can. We liked it at the time. It seems like so. The Devil in the Dark. So let's go with Jody first.
You know what? I'm going to give this one a solid 9. It's a good episode. It strikes all the right chords.
All right. Okay, Dad.
I would agree with Jody on that. I give it even a little higher. I give it about a 9.3.
9.3.
Always generous, Ted is.
Yes. I'm
gonna have to disagree slightly with you both, and I don't.
That's
think
okay.
it's a bad episode, but it's definitely wasn't as good for me. So I would probably give it as maybe an 8, but I wouldn't go any higher than that. So, all right.
Yeah,
So-
I just think when I think of Star Trek, this is the type of episode I want to see.
Yeah.
This is in my opinion a model episode for Star Trek.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think
Yeah.
that it very much is, and it just I just don't think that this particular alien is as interesting to me but it's maybe that's
Oh no, I don't think it's interesting. I just like the scenes. There was a lot of really cool scenes in this.
Oh no, it set up a lot just about what you should do in these kinds of situations. But okay,
Yeah.
so Dad, do you have something in mind to watch next?
I sure do. I have an episode in mind next week called I Mud.
Oh God.
You want to get okay? The good news is we only have to do the 2 Harry Mudd episodes, so this is the second one.
Yeah, we've already done one.
We've
This
already
is the
done
other
one,
Harry
yeah.
Mudd episode.
This is
And I want
the
you
worst
guys
one.
to
This is the
I want you
crappier
guys
one.
to take special note next week, okay, when you're watching it.
Okay.
On the I Mud episode, I want you to take special note of the control room that controls this planet with all the, I guess, the robots or whatever they're called. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And keep that in mind for the following week's episode. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So when they're in the control room trying to determine, remember that control room.
So this is something that we're gonna
Okay.
see 2 episodes from now. You're like
Yes,
planning
you're
way
gonna
ahead.
see something.
He's playing the long game. He's thinking
I'm
3
just
steps
giving
ahead.
He's playing the long
Yeah.
game for sure. Yeah.
I got the long game. I know what the
Harry
episode
Mudd.
is after I'm Mud, but I'm not going to give it to you
You're
right
not
now.
gonna, you wouldn't want to give that away. I see. Right.
No, don't want to give it away, but I'm just want you to watch I'm Mud first.
I Mud.
Harry Mudd.
Harcourt Fenton Mudd.
Yes, we're gonna meet his wife Stella, right? Or is the robot?
That's
what is
right.
it?
You're going to meet his wife Stella.
Yes.
I don't remember
Hardcore
this
Fenton
episode
Mudd.
being a good episode. I know I've
It's
seen
kind of
this
funny.
Jane Mater, it seems is her name, is a big fan, and she says here she's excited to watch I Mud, Dad. So there you go.
There you go.
What does STRT mean? Am I missing something?
STRT.
Or is that just a typo?
Star Trek.
Star Trek.
Star Trek?
All right. Anyway,
Yeah.
maybe
I
it's a
don't
typo.
know.
Something. You'll have to ask Jane Mater.
Yeah, I'll
We
find
will.
her. Yeah,
We appreciate
so-
her watching though.
Yeah, we appreciate. So she watches all the time, all the different podcasts. We appreciate it. Thank you, Jane.
Very big fan. I understand she's a very big fan of somebody on this panel.
Yes.
I'm not going to name names though,
Yes. It's
No.
no.
but I'll give you a hint.
She
It
moderator.
ain't my last name.
Well, anyway, I think we can close the book here on The Devil in the Dark here on Original Series, and look ahead to another Harry Mudd episode. Eventually,
don't
Dad,
know
I'll
if-
get you to watch the other Harry Mudd content from Star Trek Discovery. Although I don't know how much you'll enjoy it, but I think because
I will watch it. Yes, I will watch
it's worth.
Oh,
I
I
will
see.
watch it. You'll have to just tell me what episode.
See, Dave, she was referring to Star Trek Radio Theater.
I didn't. I'm
You
not
should
familiar
know
with-
this.
I should know, but I don't know that acronym yet. I haven't. Trained myself in
I guess she's starting something here.
it. Right.
She's an innovator.
It is a great episode for that. And you know that you could get Jane to play Harcourt Fenton Mudd's wife.
Yeah, she could play Stella. I bet
She
could
probably
do it.
could voice that out very well.
Yeah, Harcourt.
Harcourt Fenton Mudd.
Clearly, there's a lot of fans of the Star Trek Radio Theater. That sounds like a segue, Dave.
Well, here on Live Long and Podcast, we do several podcasts throughout the week, including this one here on Wednesdays nights. We do original series. But if this is the only one you listen to or watch, you need to know about our other podcasts. And so I'll just go to Star Trek Radio Theater, which we do on the weekends typically. It's either usually Friday or Saturday night. This week is off because it's Thanksgiving up here in Canada, so we're taking this weekend off. And so we're going to be back next weekend to do Star Trek Voyagers In the Flesh, which is all about 847 species 8472, which is a alien species learning how to infiltrate Earth. So it's kind of a fun little episode that we're going to be doing. I don't have the poster ready for that one yet, but check that out. And we also do Tuesday nights. We do Deep Space Nine rewatches here on Live Long Him Podcast. That's we're in the second season, so we're going through all the episodes of Deep Space Nine. Just getting like I'd say quarter of the way through
3.5 year
right
journey.
and then 3.5 year journey to talk about all 7 seasons and all 180 episodes of it. And then on Thursdays, so tomorrow we're doing Star Trek Lower Decks. It's the finale for this first season, and that we'll be covering the last episode, and then we're going to be back at some point in the near future to talk about like the whole season, to sort of wrap up, do a final panel on the wrap up. And we're going to be doing Star Trek Discovery starting next week. So as Lower Decks ends, Star Trek Discovery kicks up for their 3rd season. And
I'm sorry.
I know. But hey, at least I'm going into this podcast with a bunch of Discovery enthusiasts.
That's good.
Adam Woodward, who's not here right now, but I believe he'll be in for that one. And Michael Chan.
I believe he's traveling right now.
Right now he's traveling. Yeah, this isn't a week though. I'm hoping he's back by then. And also with Josh Shields. So it's going to be a whole panel. We're talking about Star Trek Discovery's 3rd season as they go into the 31st century. So that's all our Live Long and podcast. Also check out our 2 other channels, Super Mater Brothers Podcasting, where we talk about mostly reality TV shows, but some scripted stuff too. So we've been covering all season of Big Brother 22 USA. Actually have to jump off now, watch the Wednesday night episode, come back and do that. And we're going to be here tomorrow night to talk about the eviction, as we're winding down that season. It's only about 2 or 3 weeks left. We're down to the final 6. If you're not following it, and Trivial Debates is our other channel, which is our monthly channel where we debate about movies, TV, sports, history, and more. So check out all of those channels.
Yeah. I wasn't laughing at you. I'm sorry. I was laughing at a comment.
Oh, no worries. Jody for Discovery Podcast.
You don't want me on that. You don't want me on that. I'll drag that down.
I don't think that's a good idea either.
No, I don't agree.
I don't think Jeff should be on that podcast. Like I'm going to be like, okay, I'm hitting the reset button with Discovery, and I'm hoping that like I can like maybe find something good in it. So it's
I still got to get to watching it.
You don't want to. The second season. Okay, but like, hey, we want you to watch the show and to listen to the podcast. But the second season nearly killed me. So Jaemeel wants.
Thanks, Jaemeel.
So.
I love you. He's my favorite fan.
He's a fan.
He's one of my favorite people.
And speaking of Jaemeel, I have to hop off to talk about him about
Indeed.
Big Brother in just about an hour. So
right.
want to thank Jody, Dad. Thanks for watching the episode and being on the podcast. Adam and Jeff. Well, Jeff made an appearance at least. Adam, we missed you this week, and we hope you're back for the next one. And we'll
safe travels
for Discovery next week. So